Washington, D.C. is occupied territory. The Republicans are just as bad as the Democrats. The reason we're here has only a little bit to do with Biden, quite frankly. It's a multi-decade situation here, but we are ruled over by a completely out of touch, I say, global homo kleptocrat oligarchy. Like, that's what it is. So the headline of that one is November 25th. Most voters see the U.S. government as corrupt. You know, there it is, right? Like, the problem is that these numbers keep ratcheting higher and higher and higher. Only 30% trusted the federal government going into this election. And so this election was a referendum on government trust. It wasn't a referendum on Kamala Harris. She's kind of irrelevant. But then out of that question set, we also asked in general, how corrupt is the federal government? 44% say very corrupt. Another 36% say somewhat. So that's 80%. That's a bad number. And only 3% say not at all corrupt. And it's across all age brackets, and it's across all racial demographics, all genders. And, the Democrats think the government's more corrupt now than the Republicans do. And these are people who worship the federal government, the Biden strong approvers.
Well, let me make a point about this just real fast. I'm not trying to wrap myself into this. Yeah. When Todd Blanche, who really is the Attorney General, Democrat lawyer, found out that Ed Martin contacted me, because we have all the documents open and shut, CIA, under Obama, DOJ, Comey ran a national security operation on me from 2013 until Trump got in this time. They just found out about it. To the FBI's credit, they send me the documents, and we make a big deal about it. And then Ed Martin calls up and says, that's my job. I'm going to start investigations. And it wasn't just what you heard about, folks. It was quite a few things that went on. Blanche freaks out, calls him in, chews him out, threatens to fire him, don't talk to Alex Jones anymore, and then goes on ABC News and everywhere and says, Alex Jones is fringe. He doesn't deserve an investigation. He's basically a bad guy. No, Blanche, you're the fringe. 80+% of Americans think you're bad. You see, they don't think I'm bad. People think just like me because we've been through this, okay? And Trump's been persecuted, and so have I. It's come out in court, buddy, that I've had the FBI and CIA literally harass the living out of me, okay, and my family. And so I'm not some vengeful person. I literally was contacted because good people were doing their job, and then you don't just shut down the investigation. You don't just on me, you rub it in, dude. Like, it's like this is not the Soviet Union. Sorry, go ahead, Mark.
No, you're right. Washington, D.C. is occupied territory. The Republicans are just as bad as the Democrats. The reason we're here has only a little bit to do with Biden, quite frankly. It's a multi-decade situation here, but we are ruled over by a completely out of touch, I say, global homo kleptocrat oligarchy. Like, that's what it is. And I said in the White House, like, sir, a lot of the stuff you're doing is really positive. Optics matter, but it looks like you're doing oligarchy stuff, and you need to fight the oligarchy and not be the oligarchy. And coming in on literally running on retribution and a golden age. These are things that are abstract, but also very specific. And retribution, it's like, okay, a redress of Americans' grievances, accountability for weaponization of the judicial system. And so when you get in, I think there's a moral imperative as leader of America to understand how deep this goes. How deep is the abyss? What are the root cause problems addressing America? And you're starting to see Republicans nibble around the idea. Kevin Roberts, the head of the Heritage Foundation at AmFest, got up on the stage and actually said the word corporatism. And that's really wild for Republicans, who are probably more than Democrats, the party of corporatism. We can see where this is going, but again, the music is stopping and the time is running out, and America is tapped out.
It's tapped out. You've studied history, so have I. A lot of smarter elites like Elon Musk said, I've got to stabilize the world for my Mars mission and everything, and the West holds up the world and America holds up the West, so I'm here. I love America. I believe in the dream. I want to stabilize it. A totally true statement. And he said, we got to stop being kleptocratic. We've got to start hiring people. We've got to build an infrastructure. He's telling the Great Reset people that we'll be ultra rich and make them all poor to control them. That's not going to work historically. It will literally get us destroyed as a species. And so absolutely, this is the only way out, even for the establishment. They need to get with the program. And you're right. Trump's like, look at all these billionaires giving us money and, in investing. Look, they're all bowing down. He sees that as victory. The public doesn't see it as that with Larry Ellison and Bill Gates. They want to see these people in trouble. That's what they want to see. Not that, oh, look, I've taken control of the oligarchy. Well, great. When you're gone in 3 years, they'll be right back in. No, we want to see you bring them to heel. And it's not about retribution. That's what they call it. It's about survival. We have been whipped and beaten and squeezed and run over. To me, it's not retribution. I want these people to go to prison. They're going to get back in power and keep trying to destroy me and put me in prison. It's literally survival. It's literally existential, Mark.
Yeah, no, 100%. I just got back from AmFest. It was the biggest AmFest apparently ever held. Way younger apparently as well. The straw poll had record-breaking numbers for J.D. Vance, and I think that we could probably agree that of all of the people in the political stage right now, he's the one that most is in tune with the problems of the under 40 voters. And again, the reason we keep focusing on them is that they are the swing vote. They are the ones that Republicans pretty much won by, these under 40 independents, people who don't have a commitment to the Republican Party. And if they don't think that their interests are being met, they will not show up. These people are ephemeral, and we need them, right? And the Republicans had their zeitgeist. The Republicans had them eating out of their hand, and now they're not getting what they want. And what I noticed, and one of the people I talked to said this, is that Gen Z, and I say Gen Z, I include the millennials, because they've been so beaten. These people are this guy's words, a truffle pig for inauthenticity. And so when they see optics, when they see things that are performative, when they see things that quite clearly show that the people in charge don't understand what's going on, they rebel. And I'll give you an example. Under 40 people have a real big problem with housing. We just saw the National Association of Realtors say the median first-time homebuyer age was 40 years old for the first time. So half of America has to work for at least 22 years before that they can afford a house now when they're coming out of college. That's horrifying. Almost 3/4 of them say that housing prices is a crisis, and a chunk of, I think, over 40% of under 40 voters think that it's not likely they'll ever own a home. So this is crisis level for them. But you know what? For most of Trump's term, you didn't hear a whole lot about the housing market. They were talking about Doge. They were talking about arresting people. They were talking about all these other stuff. Epstein, right? When did they freak out about housing? Well, it's when the oligarchs came out with an oligarch plan for 50-year mortgages. And then they're like, wait a minute. Then it all hit the fan and everybody was laughing about it on the internet. The Trump administration got, brutally attacked by people on the internet over this plan because it's a horrifying plan that shows that they're completely out of touch.
It's basically the same path of the Japanese, total destruction. It's like we're drowning, asking for a life raft, and Trump goes, here's a bowling ball.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. It raises house prices, it siphons more interest off these people, it locks them into debt servitude, and it makes bankers rich. Like, what's not to love? I mean, it was literally horrifying. And it's like, okay, well, you have people like even Charlie Kirk, who's not an economist, but he understands young voters, like trying to help them in floating these structural plans, which maybe they're not perfect, but if there was a core, would be fine. And, one of the things I was talking about with Sean Spicer today, I thought back to the spring. In March, when people were trying to undermine Donald Trump, you have all of these like corporatist, mainstream media legacy types that are establishment shills, and they were freaking out over all of the tariffs, right? And what was weird in the polling is that like people don't really understand tariffs, but the idea of using them was not very popular. Like it was not like this thing that everybody was clamoring for, like mass deportations. And so there was a lot of risk with the tariffs that there would be negative public opinion implications. And the media was like playing this up really big, right? And trying to show Trump was chaotic, trying to show he had the worst approval rating of any president. Trying to crash the market. But you know what? Because Trump had the right principle, because he was doing this for the right reasons, because there was this core of fairness, the American people were with him, and he came out of this period of Liberation Day and then April and May into a pretty high net approval rating, higher than any other president at that point in time, which was a net positive 8 points. He's -10 right now, and so it hurt him at all. In fact, it might have helped him, and he got through it, and now we have the tariffs, right? But then the Epstein thing, which I think we can all agree is less fundamentally important than trillions of dollars of global trade, right?
But it was a major betrayal in optics to say, it's all a hoax, and if you want to look at it, you're not my supporter, I don't need you. I mean, you couldn't blow your feet off better.
Exactly. It wasn't the most important thing. It was the most egregious thing. And it showed what are our values? What do we stand for? What's the path forward? And so if Republicans and Trump can't together show that there is a viable path forward to America, and I think there's a path out of this. Like, that's why I'm being so emphatic. if we can just restore an economic future to the under 40 voters, they're going to chill out. We're not going to have the Zoomerwaffen if they can actually get married to a sane woman and get a good salary job and buy a house. That's the problem. They just want their American future back. And it's very clear the kind of things that we need to do this. And they fundamentally know this as well. At this AmFest, in the straw poll conducted by People's Pundit, Rich Barris, 90% of the crowd supported an immigration moratorium. And now you have J.D. Vance out there talking about this. So there is a path forward for the American First movement to be very effective. But again, the Republicans are just not equipped. They are so controlled by corporate interests. They're so complacent. They're so focused on this consulting class grift. As the youth say, and I hate to be, use a trope, they don't know what time it is. And the hour is very late, and they're going to lose this one. They really are. The writing is on the wall.